What kind of candy isn't on time?
What kind?
Chocolate.
Nice.
Hungry Squared, bringing you the best food talk anywhere.
Welcome to the Hungry Squared podcast where the brain and belly meets. I'm Sharon from the Wasatch Cooking Guide.
And I'm Winter from theredparty.com. This week, we are talking about chocolate. Yummy. Let's talk about it.
Talk you're looking for. Hungry Squared, yeah, Hungry Squared.
Sharon, what'd you eat this week? Has it been good?
Yeah, this week's been great.
What'd you eat?
We ate a lot of home-cooked food.
Yay for home cooking.
Yeah, because I think I need to be a little bit more healthy, eat out less.
Yeah.
So trying to eat more at home. But this week, I was quite surprised because the cafeteria at my work had spring rolls. Like the
fried kind or the fresh?
The fresh spring rolls.
Okay.
And they were made with pork. So the pork was cooked, but that was it. So there was like rice noodles.
Okay.
So I guess those are cooked.
Yeah.
Cold.
Yeah.
There was fresh vegetables inside and a yummy peanut sauce with some, pretty sure it was like sriracha in there and some other good things.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I was excited, and there was 4 to a package and they were giant. So I ate those for days.
For days.
But they were great and they were really filling.
That sounds really good. I don't think I've had the spring rolls with pork in them.
I hadn't either. And I talked to the lady and she was like, I know. And she's Vietnamese. And she's like, but
shrimp is more expensive or something?
No, she was like, I made them to try them out and to see if anybody would buy them and if they liked them. So she's like, I'm glad that you like them. She's like, I'll be making more. But some people freak out if there's only a shrimp option.
Sheesh.
So, she's trying to appeal to the masses, basically.
I get it.
What'd you eat this week?
Well, I ate some really awesome stuff this week, actually.
Well, you went out of town.
I did. I was in Palm Springs this last week, and it was delightful. And Palm Springs, I hadn't heard of, in certain cities that are known for good food.
Yeah. I just know Palm Springs for golf courses.
Yeah, right? And old Hollywood and that type of thing.
Yes,
Mid-century modern houses, and it had all of that. But I never heard anything about their food. So just did a couple of quick Google Yelpy type searches. And I'm going to just mention 2 things. If you've never been to Sherman's, it's a deli and a bakery. It's kind of one of those old school Jewish delis and bakeries in Palm Springs.
All right.
It was amazing. The best cinnamon roll I've ever had, first of all. So go there, Sherman's. Then the other one, I mean, it's big as your head.
Just the cinnamon roll?
It's ginormous. I got a big head, everybody. The other place that I still I'm dreaming about it, but I went to this place. It's kind of a little upscale joint called Tropical. And it was very swanky, and unfortunately, I was not dressed up in very swankiness. And my dining companions were not either. But I have.
Is it like those places that make you don a suit and tie?
No,
like a sport jacket. And
no,
tie
they don't. It was
work.
like I'm in casual, and everybody just is dressed a little bit nicer than I am, and it felt a little awkward. But that being said, I was like, I'm eating. It's dark. Whatever. It was a special. I had the best mussels I've ever had in my life there.
Really?
They were huge. These green bearded mussels that were in a coconut curry sauce with a little basmati rice on the side. It was just an appetizer, but it was the best mussels I've ever had. So Tropical in Palm Springs. Oh, check it out. Oh,
yeah.
I hope they have them when you go there.
All right.
And now for the main course.
So let's get down to the topic at hand. Chocolate.
This
is a delicious episode.
Oh, yeah, it is. First of all, there's so many things that we could talk about.
Yeah, just to be clear, this isn't
everything.
This is a basic chocolate episode. It's not artisan chocolate.
Yeah, we will have other people come.
Like that.
Yeah, we'll have other people come talk to us about artisan chocolates, and
this isn't fancy. We're not getting fancy.
We're just going to talk a little bit about some history, a little science, and then when we talk about artisan chocolates, we can talk a little bit more about chocolate design. I think that's where it shines. So,
yeah.
Okay. So what is chocolate, Sharon?
It's yummy.
Okay. Well, it's okay. So chocolate is composed of cacao powder, cocoa butter, and a lot of times some sweetener. Sugar is often what is used.
Sure.
Now, modern chocolates have a few more things in it just because of the way modern chocolate is. And so there's milk solids. They may have some added flavors, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes vanilla gets added in there and probably shouldn't. It kind of masks things, but they also have preservatives that could be in there. So that's typical chocolate, like modern day chocolate. And cacao, it comes from a plant, right?
Right.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes, that's the base of chocolate.
Exactly. And it gives
gets processed.
Yes, and that gives it its unique taste. It has kind of a bitter note. I mean, it's bitter. And that's why you add sweeteners and stuff like that. so yeah, it's just this combination of this cacao and then the fat. And the word chocolate comes from a Mayan civilization word. And I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm going to look at my notes. It's chocolatl. Did I say that right? Chocolatl?
Chocolatl.
Yeah. And it means bitter water. Because it's got a bitter note to it. Because before, back in the day, they used it in kind of a hot beverage. And it was kind of spicy as well. And it was part of, like I said, Mayan and Aztecan tradition. That is where that came from. So there's a lot of history, people.
Very few foods get better with processing.
Yes.
Chocolate is one of those foods. When it was first around, like you were saying, it was a drink back in like BC times, I think, as far back as like 600 BC or something. It was a drink, and that's how people consumed it. And it wasn't until in the last few hundred years that it's really been processed as much as it has.
Yeah.
To increase, like, to be more of a candy.
So what kind of chocolates are there?
When people talk about, like, what kind of chocolate do you like? Do you like dark chocolate or do you like milk chocolate? Well, there's actually more than just dark and milk. There's unsweetened chocolate, and that's a pure hardened chocolate liquor. And when I say chocolate liquor, that's actually a non-alcoholic paste of chocolate that happens when the chocolate's processed, like when the beans are processed.
Okay.
They get roasted, and the nibs that come out of the bean are roasted, and then they get crushed into a thick paste, and that's the chocolate liquor.
Okay.
But it's non-alcoholic.
Okay.
There's never any alcohol added to it. That's just the name that it's been given.
I guess what would you use that for?
So the unsweetened chocolate is this pure hardened chocolate liquor. It has no added milk or sugars or anything like that. That's just your basic pure unsweetened chocolate. Okay. Baking chocolate.
Very bitter.
Under this. It's very bitter because the absence of sugar makes it virtually inedible.
Yeah.
It does have quite a chocolatey, quote unquote, flavor, but there is no sugar. And so it's very difficult to eat just by itself. Then there's the bittersweet and semi-sweet chocolates.
Is there a difference? Because I feel like I've used those interchangeably and I don't think they're the same.
Yeah, there is, but it's not huge.
It's not noticeable.
It's not huge. Both bittersweet and semi-sweet chocolate contain at least 35% chocolate mass, plus additional cocoa butter, sugar, flavorings, and sometimes an emulsifier like lecithin, like soy or sunflower lecithin.
Right. That's not the good stuff, though, I feel like.
The sunflower, I found,
is a little bit
better than soy lecithin. But generally, the lecithin is used as an emulsifier.
Really quickly, what is an emulsifier? Do you want to
kind of
describe that?
So it's...
I've understood it as
some consistency.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that stabilizes. It's considered a food additive that helps stabilize any processed foods, kind of meld them together a little bit more.
Yep.
A little better.
So the semi-sweet chocolate will be a little sweeter than bittersweet. So that's the difference, but you can still use them roughly interchangeably.
The semi-sweet chocolate has probably less of a percentage of the cacao than the bittersweet. Is that right?
Yeah, just a little bit less.
Okay.
I can run down the exact numbers, but there's no precise definitions for semi-sweet, and bittersweet.
Okay.
So the flavor and sweetness, they vary by weight, up to 30% sugar.
Oh.
So they're in their sweet chocolate. Government standards require that sweet chocolate contain no less than 15% chocolate liquor and varying amounts of sugar, milk solids, and flavorings and emulsifiers. So as the name implies, it's a little bit sweeter than the semi-sweet or bittersweet. And it's less, so because it's sweeter, it's less chocolatey.
Okay.
Because you have that
sense.
less pure cacao flavor.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes the sweet chocolate is referred to as German chocolate.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't know. It's just
another name for that. Maybe that's the way they...
It's a brand name, German.
Oh.
But yeah.
Okay. I was thinking it was like German, like the country. But
but like a German chocolate cake is based on the cooking brand.
The German... Oh, yeah, because isn't it named after a person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Milk chocolate. So this is where more milk solids get added.
Mm-hmm.
This is typically the favorite eating chocolate. It is in the United States. It contains sugar, vanilla, other flavorings sometimes, and those milk solids. The milk solids make the chocolate milder and sweeter, so it's even less chocolatey than a bittersweet.
It doesn't have as high a percentage of that cacao liqueur.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But because of that, sometimes you get different types of flavors. You can have even like a cheesy notes to it because of the milk solids.
What?
Yeah. If you have a very developed palate and things like that.
Apparently I do not.
But yeah, you can get some cheese notes in milk chocolate.
Wow. Okay. But maybe it's because I stay away from milk chocolate. I don't like the stuff.
Yeah, I don't love it. So something to know is that you shouldn't substitute milk chocolate for dark chocolate in any product that should be baked unless there's specific instructions to do so, like from your recipe or the text that you're using, as the milk solids tend to burn. So milk chocolate burns easier than a dark because of the milk that's added.
Okay.
If you melt it slowly and carefully, you can use the milk chocolate in glazes, mousses, and certain types of candy.
Okay.
So there is that.
So interesting. I've never thought of that because I have interchanged a few things before.
Sometimes, like if you're talking about a chocolate chip, it won't matter as much.
Okay.
But
if you're doing something
that is using baking chocolate, say, and you're like trying to riff on a brownie recipe, you need to be careful if you're going to use a milk chocolate.
Okay, versus
because that's going to burn quicker.
Okay, that's a good thing to note, everybody.
The milk chocolate melts at a lower temperature than a dark, a significantly lower temperature.
Okay.
The brown powder that's left after the cocoa butter is removed from cocoa beans is known as cocoa powder.
Oh.
So yeah. It doesn't contain any sweeteners or flavorings, and it's used primarily in baked goods. The alkalized or Dutch processed cocoa powder.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I don't understand that. I have some. I don't get it. And sometimes they call it double Dutch processed or something.
Yeah, so it's been treated with an alkaline solution, such as potassium carbonate, and that raises the powder's pH. So from about a 5.5 to a 7 or 8. So significant. The alkalized powder is darker and it's milder than the non-alkalized powder. And it has a reduced tendency to lump, which is kind of interesting. But generally speaking, they can be used interchangeably.
Yeah.
In recipes.
Well,
so your Dutch processed or your regular.
I've found that
cocoa powder.
I agree that like I've done that in like brownies before and put in a Dutch process, but I felt like the Dutch processed brownies were richer.
They tend to be slightly fudgier, is what I've noticed when you use a Dutch process versus just a straight cocoa powder.
Okay.
So there is that. You can detect certain flavor differences and sometimes consistencies.
Okay.
So
that is interesting. I did not know that.
But generally speaking, you can use them interchangeably.
Okay.
If something calls for cocoa powder, you can either go for your Dutch processed or your regular.
Okay.
Which is the lighter brown. Then we have white chocolate.
Wait,
which isn't chocolate at all.
Okay, I was about to say I'm raising my hand, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that is not chocolate.
Yes, it doesn't come from an albino cocoa bean or anything like that. It doesn't come from a cocoa bean at all. It's a confectionery product that doesn't contain any chocolate solids or liquor.
Any of that.
Remember that chocolate paste.
Mm-hmm. But does it have almost everything else, like the milk solids and the cocoa butter?
It does have cocoa butter.
Okay.
So it's usually labeled as like white confectionery or confectioner's coating in the US. Sometimes you can just find it by the name of white chocolate. Just kind of depends. It's not my favorite. I've only had it once where it was really good. And a chef who was giving a chocolate tasting class, gave me a piece, and it was like, I don't know, it was super expensive. And he rattled off the brand name, and it's just something from Europe that I was like not familiar with. Delicious. It kind of tasted almost like butterscotch, but not what I've had, not what I'm used to having when it comes to that white chocolate.
Right.
Usually it's kind of chalky or just kind of like a weird greasy taste.
I feel like it's because a lot of the times they don't use a cocoa butter. They use like a soy lecithin, and soy lecithin has a little bit more of a waxy texture to it. So
it could either be waxy or chalky, and it just doesn't have the same mouthfeel as regular chocolate. So it does have a minimum of 31% cocoa butter and a maximum of 55% sugar, 20% milk solids, vanilla, and then other flavors.
Other things that go into it.
Yeah. Other products replace all or part of the cocoa butter with vegetable oils.
What?
These confectionery products will be less expensive than those with the pure cocoa butter, but their flavor and texture will be noticeably inferior. Like we were saying, white chocolate melts at a lower temperature than dark and burns really easily.
Yeah, it totally does.
You can use it in candy making, but it's used less often in things like baked products. Then there's this thing called couverture.
I've never heard of that. What is that?
It refers to high quality chocolate containing at least 32% cocoa butter.
How do you spell couverture? Sorry.
Couverture.
Okay, couverture.
And professional chocolatiers generally prefer this type of chocolate. It has a higher fluidity than other chocolates when it's melted, and is available in a range of flavors like bittersweet, semi-sweetened milk. It has a glossy appearance and can be used to create a smooth, thin coating on confectionery pastries. It contains 3 primary ingredients, which are cocoa solids, sugar, and cocoa butter. The label on couverture sold in bulk will usually indicate the amounts of these 3 primary ingredients. So you'll see it labeled, like if you go to your baking supply store, like a specialty kitchen store, you'll see it labeled like 70/30/38.
Ooh.
And in that example, it would be 70% cocoa solids, 30% sugar, and that last number refers to the percentage of total fat. So 38% fat.
So this is like high quality. Like this is the best stuff.
Pretty much.
For baked goods, like you probably wouldn't purchase that to like eat as just a regular consumer.
No.
Right? It's more for baked.
Yeah, this isn't like
nice
Nestle
desserts. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So I think like people that maybe dip their own chocolates or things like that might purchase this type of thing.
Okay. That is interesting. We're going to do a little poll. Hey, listeners, what's going on? What do you like? Are you a dark chocolate fan? Are you a milk chocolate fan? Are you a white chocolate fan?
Meaning you hate chocolate.
What's your jam? I am all about the dark chocolate.
Me too.
I'll eat some milk chocolate, but it usually has to be embedded in like a chocolate chip cookie. But even then, I love me some semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate.
I won't eat milk chocolate if it's in a chocolate chip cookie.
Really?
I'll only eat it if it's on a Snickers bar.
Oh.
Maybe a Kit Kat.
Okay.
Perhaps a Twix. Those would be the big 3.
I
Nothing else. Don't want it.
Don't want it. Rejected. You know, there have been the Kit Kat in dark chocolate.
That's really good.
It's hecka good.
It's really good.
It is so, so good. I love it. And they don't ever have it because not very many people like the dark chocolate. Okay, so let us know what your faves are.
Yeah.
We'll try not to make fun of you if you like white chocolate. There's no guarantee though. Just kidding. You can say that you like white chocolate.
It's all right.
It's all right.
You can, maybe they're super tasters.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're super tasters. Okay, check out our taste episode. That was a good one. That was a fun one.
Ha. Bringing it full circle.
Full circle.
So yeah.
That is awesome. Okay, so can I talk a little bit about the chemistry?
Yes, please do.
So as some of you may know, Lee and I, my husband and I, we dip chocolates almost every year.
It's so fun to get Christmas presents from them. I can't even tell you.
We make our own fondant centers that create those creamy centers. And we do have a chocolate dipper who comes and professionally dips them. She used to work for some of the big old school chocolate companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cummings and Miss Kavanaugh's. And she is awesome. But one thing I have learned is that she's got this process to temper the chocolate. And I did not understand what tempering chocolate was until I became involved in this process.
Yeah.
Tempering chocolate. So you will melt the chocolate, and it's basically when you melt it, the molecules of fat start to separate. Tempering is getting them to getting them back together again. You're going to try and recrystallize them. This is one thing I did not know. And shout out to my friend Logan. He kind of was like, Winter, there are crystalline structures of chocolate. I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so because of him, thanks Logan, I kind of delved into a little bit more into tempering chocolate and why you need to do that. So
when would you temper chocolate besides dipping a chocolate?
I think dipping a chocolate or whatever,
like making a cake maybe.
If you're going to have like a crust or a layer of something, because tempering, you want there to be a nice gloss to it. You want some hardness and they talk about the snap.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that before?
Yeah. And tasting chocolate, it's got to have a nice break. So it should snap cleanly.
Yep. So that's kind of the thing you're looking for. Now, it all has to do with the melting points. And like my friend said, there are several crystalline structures or polymorphisms. So poly is many, morph is form. So there are many forms. There, I would say, are primarily 5/6 forms.
Oh, okay.
And we'll talk about the sixth one in a second, but you want it to be in the number 5 form crystal shape, because that's when you get that shiny, smooth texture. You get a good snap, and it also melts in your mouth just right. Right? Because there's been times when you put chocolate in your mouth and you're like, something is not happening correct. The mouthfeel is not right. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you're aiming for when you're tempering chocolate, where either you're dipping something, you're putting, encasing a dessert that you just made, whatever happens to be. So your first polymorphism, and I'm going to just really quickly go through the temperatures, the melting points, and which form they're in. So the first form, it has its melting point, and it seems to vary on the temperatures, but this one reports at around 17 degrees, which is Celsius, 17 degrees Celsius, which is about 63 Fahrenheit. Okay. Form number 2 is about 23 degrees Celsius, which is about 73, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. This is when you cool the chocolate a little too quickly. And for example, you stick it in the freezer.
And it gets weird.
Yes.
The appearance is weird.
So it's something called blooming. When you say it gets weird, it's that kind of like whitish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Become like a chalky white appearance will come through the chocolate almost.
Yep.
So it kind of looks right, but then
all
you've
of a
got
sudden,
this powder looking on it.
So and it is soft. The problem is that the chocolate ends up being soft and crumbly. Mm-hmm. And then so it, like, once again, that would not be great for if you're trying to encase something with, it just wouldn't work really well.
Yeah. That fat bloom is what it's called. And the cocoa butter comes out is what happens because it wasn't cooled or stored properly. At one point.
Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about 3 and 4 because they're kind of in the same, they kind of do the same deal. But 3 is 25 degrees Celsius, which is about 77, 78 Fahrenheit. And then number 4, polymorphism, 27.3 degrees Celsius or around 81 Fahrenheit. So this one is firm, but it doesn't give a good snap.
Oh, okay.
And you're cooling
it. Still crumbling?
No, I feel like it's firmer. Like it's definitely firmer. It just is not giving your good snap. And I've definitely had chocolate that I'm like, when I've thought back on all of my chocolate consumption, I was like, yes, I have had things that looked kind of nice. It was firm, but when I, broke it off, it was just like, meh.
It's more of a, you bend it.
Yeah.
It bends and breaks. It doesn't just.
Yep.
Okay.
There could be some blooming. And this is because once again, you're cooling it a little bit slower than the 1 and 2 forms, but you're still,
still too fast.
Yeah. Still a little too fast. Now 5 is where we want it, people.
Okay.
It's around 33, 34 degrees Celsius is when it melts.
What's the Fahrenheit on that?
That one is about 93.
Oh, okay.
93 Fahrenheit. That's when you're going to get that shiny, smooth. And it, like, seriously, look at your chocolate the next time you're looking at it and like,
it's glossy.
Is it nice and pretty? And it's got a smooth texture. It will have a good snap to it and it will melt in your mouth like it should.
Yeah.
And it is the reason why it achieves this is that it was melted and then it was used some whatever tempering technique you want to use. And we'll talk about a few tempering techniques, but it was brought slowly to room temperature. And that is what you want. That's the most desirable thing. So, okay. Side note on form number 6, it is a little higher, 36 degrees Celsius, which is about 97. It is very hard because it forms a little bit harder.
Toughened.
It melts a lot slower in your mouth. And it could show some blooming. And we've kind of talked about this blooming. It usually happens because originally it was in 5. It was in a 5 form and it's just sat a little bit longer. So the time frames range, but it's like up to, it's after about 4 months or so that it's just been sitting and it's good. It was good. And then just after a while, because old chocolate it's a
little bit stale.
It starts getting a little of that blooming. So how do you temper chocolate? And can you save chocolate?
Can you indeed?
Can you?
I don't know.
Okay. Have you ever tempered chocolate? What is the way that you have learned to temper chocolate?
So I've melted it in a double boiler on the stovetop.
Okay.
The most common thing that I do though, and this happens when I make my favorite flourless chocolate cake.
Oh, yes.
Or my favorite brownies, is I actually melt it in the microwave.
Excellent.
But I'm melting it with butter, so not by itself.
Okay.
Because I'm not using it to dip anything or anything like that. I'm using it's as an ingredient. But you have to watch it so it doesn't burn. And so I just do it in like 30-second increments.
Yeah. So the first thing that you mentioned was doing it in a double boiler, right? That's a very classical method, right? It's another name for that is tabliering. I don't know if I said that correctly, but it's tabliering.
Okay.
And it's, if you don't know what a double boiler is, it's basically you've got your chocolate in a bowl, which is set over a hot water bath. And the temperature ranges between 31 to 32 degrees Celsius, which translates roughly to 88 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is for
not hot boiling water.
No. Yeah, not hot boiling water. Now, and this is
very low simmer.
And this is just as a note. This is for like bittersweet, semi-sweet, that kind of chocolate. Because your white chocolates, your milk chocolates, because they have more of those milk solids, we're gonna have to lower that temperature about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit less. So bring it down just a little bit. The traditional way of tempering chocolate, and I did not realize this, and this is I've learned it, is that once you, and this is for like dipping chocolate, right? You're going to dip a center or something like that. You pour 2/3 of that chocolate that you had just melted onto a cold table, cold marble surface.
Oh, this is where the marble slab comes in.
Yeah, because it maintains that temperature really nicely. it's spread out, you work it with the spatula until the temperature is about 81 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 27 degrees Celsius. So, and the way it looks at this time is starting to get a little thicker. It's harder to move around. It's starting to set a little. And then you pour in the rest of the third of the non-tempered chocolate. So you reserved the third, and then now you're going to add it in, and then you start mixing it all together to get a uniform temperature. Now, if the temperature is too high, you can just keep working it on the slab so it brings the temperature down. So that's why we work it on this marble slab. So Lee and I, we did these chocolates over the holidays, and we did a Facebook Live video of dipping the chocolates and then just kind of working on the marble slab. You're using that marble slab as a temperature, like it's a way to gauge, like help the temperature out of whatever you're working on the marble slab. If you need to make it cooler, that's how you do it. It's kind of a big mess, and not everybody does this. And in fact, it sounds like whenever you use a double boiler, it just goes straight into whatever you're making.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I've never dipped. And so that's not, I'm not using it as a glaze or as like a coating for anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I use it as an ingredient.
Right. So if you're like a chocolatier, if you're making specialty chocolates, then this is kind of the process you're going to do. The other thing that you can do is kind of what you said. You put it in the microwave.
You need to make sure that you're not just stopping the microwave after 30 seconds, but giving it a good stir.
Yes.
To melt it down.
Exactly.
And because sometimes it's hotter than you think it is, even if you stir it just a couple of times. You need to kind of keep stirring because it'll melt down pretty quickly.
And if it's really good chocolate. So let's start really quickly. You're going to put the chocolate in a bowl, a glass bowl preferably, because the glass actually is a very decent it keeps the chocolate
I put
tempered.
it in a Pyrex measuring bowl. Yeah,
that's exactly what we do too. And so you can put it in the microwave for 30-second increments, but after every 30 seconds, you give it a stir. That first 30 seconds, it's going to look like it hasn't done anything. So just keep doing that. Give it a good stir.
It's the second and third 30 seconds that
it can go fast.
Happened.
You can burn it. So just be super careful. It is very easy to overheat. So the other thing that I feel like is a really good tip is that when you're doing that, you should have kind of some lumps. When you have like some liquid and some lumps, pull it out. Just allow the rest of the chocolate that's melted to continue melting the lumps, because that can help. And people say that they put an immersion blender in to kind of just like mix those up and smooth those out. That seems complicated to me. I'll just keep stirring it with my spatula.
Yeah, there's no need.
Yeah. Okay, one thing to be aware of is that because there is this crystalline structure, the chocolate wants to arrange itself all the same into the same crystalline structure. Okay. So you can do something called seeding.
Oh, what's that?
So if you have some chocolate that is starting to recrystallize on the sides of the bowls, it's getting harder, and you're like, I walked away for a minute. Oh crap. It's starting to lose that glossiness, and I didn't start working it, and it's not doing what it needs to do. You can do something called seeding, where you just add in pieces of unmelted chocolate, and hopefully that chocolate has been tempered, so it's in crystalline structure number 5, right? Hopefully that's the case. You chuck that in, and that unmelted chocolate acts as a seed to reorganize all of the other chocolate around it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it kind of fixes it.
Yeah. So you can do something like that. So just think of that unmelted chocolate as a seed, and it spreads to the rest of it. It wants to chaos and non-chaos. It's trying to organize itself. So that's one thing that you can do that I feel like is an easy way to do it, because I feel like tempering chocolate the way a chocolatier would do it is way too complicated for a lot of people.
Well, and I mean, if you're just a home cook, and not just a home cook, but if you're doing this at home, that you don't want to go through any complicated processes.
Yep. And so once again, I would say if you're melting those, then just kind of keep an eye on your chocolate. Don't burn it. And if you need to chuck in some unmelted chocolate, kind of reserve some on the side so that you can, if you need to, you can help it out. And people say that add in about 1/4 of what you have in the bowl. I don't know how I would judge that, honestly, but use that as the seed chocolate to reorganize it, and so you can get it back to, crystalline structure number 5.
Okay.
So This was very helpful. I did not know all of this and about the structure of chocolate. I thought it was fascinating to know that my chocolate, which makes me happy when I put it in my mouth, needs to have its order and wants to be at a certain place to do its thing and fulfill its purpose of being tasty.
All right. So my favorite vehicle for chocolate
Yes.
is the cookie, the chocolate chip cookie. My mom made me chocolate chip cookies quite a bit when I was growing up. And if she ever tried to make another cookie,
You were not having it.
I was not having it.
Rejecting the snickerdoodle.
Nope. No snickerdoodles, no oatmeal raisin,
None of that.
peanut butter. They're all out.
Chocolate chip cookie.
Yep. And there's some pretty good history to the chocolate chip cookie.
Is there?
Yes.
We've talked about this before.
Yes. So it was invented in 1938 by a woman who is from Massachusetts named Ruth Graves Wakefield. She invented the recipe during the period in which she owned a restaurant called Toll House Inn, which is in Whitman, Massachusetts. And at that time, it was a popular restaurant that featured home cooking. And it's often incorrectly reported that she accidentally developed the cookie.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, a lot of stories happen to have been, have evolved. A lot of stories have evolved saying that she expected the chocolate chunks in the cookie would melt, making just a chocolate cookie.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But in fact, Wakefield stated that she deliberately invented the cookie, and she said, quote, "We had been serving a thin butterscotch nut cookie with ice cream. Everybody seemed to love it, but I was trying to give them something different, so I came up with Toll House cookie." End quote. That butterscotch nut cookie sounds good.
I know.
She wrote a cookbook called Toll House Tried and True Recipes. It was first published in 1936, but in the 1938 edition, that was the first to include the recipe Toll House Chocolate Crunch Cookie.
Ooh.
And it rapidly became a favorite cookie in American homes. During World War II, soldiers from the Massachusetts area who were stationed overseas shared cookies that they received in care packages back home with soldiers from other parts of the U.S.
Yeah.
Soon, hundreds of soldiers were writing home asking their families to send them some Toll House cookies.
Wartime brings us together.
Yes. And
Again.
She was inundated, Ruth Wakefield was inundated with letters asking
For the recipe.
Letters from around the world. And so began the craze for the chocolate chip cookie.
It's good. Wait,
it is good.
I have a quick question really fast. You said it was the crunch cookie?
Yes, because there's nuts in it.
Oh, okay. So that's where the crunch came from. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I prefer a little bit of a softer chocolate chip cookie. So I was thinking that it was supposed to be snappy or something like that, but it's not. Okay.
There's nuts in it.
It's the nuts. Okay.
Yeah. So the Toll House cookie recipe is widely known. Every brand of chocolate chips
that has their version.
Or semi-sweet chocolate chips sold in the U.S. and Canada bears some type of a variant of the Toll House chocolate chip cookie recipe on their packaging.
Of course.
It's really cool. And it's so popular, as we know, that all commercial bakeries, pretty much all of them, offer their own version of a chocolate chip cookie. And several national chains sell chocolate chip cookies in malls, things like that.
Oh, yes.
And several businesses offer chocolate chip cookies to their patrons and customers to set them apart.
Yes.
Hotels do it.
Yes.
Banks do it.
Yes.
I've seen dentist's office do it.
That seems a
airlines, tons of them. And it's freshly baked chocolate chip cookies.
That's how people get
That's
houses.
how they get you.
That's how they get you in real estate. Like you bake a bunch of chocolate chip cookies and offer them to people looking at the house.
That's part of the staging.
It's part of the experience.
When you're doing an open house or something like that, they'll bake something or they'll light a baked good scented candles.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. That's how they get you.
It's a classic.
It is. On July 9th, 1997, Massachusetts designated the chocolate chip cookie as their official state cookie.
It should be.
So there's several renditions of the chocolate chip cookie, Toll House being the most popular. I grew up with Betty Crocker's ultimate chocolate chip cookie recipe.
What makes it ultimate? Was there stuff in it besides chocolate chips?
No, it's almost the exact same as a Toll House cookie recipe, except there's 1 egg instead of 2.
Oh.
And
Okay.
they also use a cup of nuts. There's actually a cup of nuts in the original Toll House cookie recipe. If you omit the nuts, they say to add a couple tablespoons of flour
Okay.
instead. But yeah, there's slightly less salt and 1 less egg in Betty Crocker's recipe.
And you like those?
I love them. Another type of cookie that's a chocolate chip cookie that people seem to love is the urban legend surrounding the Neiman Marcus cookie.
What is up with that? Like there's like, I need a Snopes that. Snopes. Yeah, Snopes.
I did
that.
Snopes.
Did you? Okay,
Yes,
let's talk
I
about
did.
it then.
It's really cool. So it is a false claim. Nobody has been charged $250 by Neiman Marcus for a cookie recipe ever. But what's funny about this is that basically over the years, this has evolved into different types of baked goods and different types of stores. In South Africa, it was a Woolworths in Johannesburg. It's been a Marshall Fields cookie. Back in the day, it was a red velvet cake from the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in the 60s. It was a Mrs. Fields cookie in the 80s. And it's always, my daughter and I or my husband and I went and dined at this place, which is it's been a hotel. It's been a couple of department store cafes.
Yeah.
It's been wherever. And they asked for the recipe, and it's usually almost always they were charged $250.
Really?
Yes, for
That's
the recipe.
The urban legend.
It was just added to the tab. Oh yeah, just put it on my tab. And when they said $250, I thought they meant $2.50, not $250. So I'm going to email this out to the masses, and you need to forward it, and so we can get back at the
The man.
Yeah. Stick it to the man. But the reason why it's persevered so much is because it's that traditional David and Goliath thing.
Yeah.
It's the little guy is going to conquer no matter what. And it's happened with cake. It's happened with cookies. It's happened with pastries. And
so the Neiman Marcus thing is not really.
But the cool thing is that Neiman Marcus actually developed a chocolate chip cookie based on this urban legend.
No way.
Yes, and they publish it on their website, and it's free.
That's even better. So it really was an urban legend, and then they were like, just to be funny.
Yeah. I mean, they've capitalized on this. And so now you can get the Neiman Marcus chocolate chip cookie recipe for free. And it does not have 5 cups of blended oatmeal in it. I don't know if you've ever seen that typical Neiman Marcus cookie recipe, but it's got 5 cups of oatmeal that's been shot through a blender, so it's a powder.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. I tried to make them once and they did not turn out.
That was not the right one.
No. So the actual Neiman Marcus cookie recipe, in case you'd like to have it, is 1/2 cup of unsalted butter, softened, a cup of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, an egg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 3/4 cups of flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons instant espresso powder, slightly crushed, and 8 ounces of chocolate chips, semi-sweet.
Wow.
And there you have it.
I'm wondering if anybody has ever made the ones that are on the website now.
I don't know. But I'm thinking that the espresso powder probably complements the chocolate pretty well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That's a fun little urban legend. I did not know that. I know so it really was just an urban legend in many forms. And it has, it always shows up in a kind of a different form, but it really was not true.
Nope, not at all. And it's been circulating, some type of rumor
like that.
Similar to this has been circulating for almost 100 years now.
That is awesome. Good
Be
job.
it a cake, a cookie, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That is kind of funny.
Yeah. So there you go.
Who knew? Who knew?
But eat your chocolate, people.
It's good stuff.
And if you want to a good chocolate chip cookie. Make a Toll House cookie.
I think everybody just, I always like to hear what everybody's chocolate chip cookie recipes are, because I think once you like it, you stick to it. You don't stray.
I have made several different types of chocolate chip cookie recipes, and I really like the Betty Crocker one. That tastes like my mom's cookies, as close as I can get. She had a Bosch mixer, which I don't have, and man, the motor in that thing's amazing. KitchenAid doesn't turn out quite the same. She got this weird loft to her cookies, so they're almost an inch thick sometimes.
They're fluffy.
Yeah, fluffy, cakey. And I really loved those cookies. But I typically like a chewy, soft, slightly underbaked cookie.
Yeah. I love the cookie recipe on the generic brand of chocolate chips on the Albertsons, the store. Yeah, it's a little saltier. It's like a little more savory.
Oh, okay.
So love that one. And then I also love the Pinch of Yum chocolate chip cookies. And
I just saw that the other day and I was like, oh, I need to try these.
We've tweaked it a little and we love it.
Nice.
It's good stuff. Yeah. Eat your chocolate, people. Our podcast is brought to you by our awesome and food-loving sponsor. We are so pleased to partner with Once a Month Meals, Sharon.
Yay!
So
we are.
What is Once a Month Meals?
It's a lot of things. It's meal planning. It's
freezer meals specifically.
Specific. And it gives you a grocery list. It prioritizes your recipes. You choose the recipes that you want. It prioritizes your workflow.
Yes.
It does a lot of things. They have a lot of algorithms behind it to maximize efficiency in your kitchen so you can enjoy more time with your family.
It's totally great. We love it. And they are pretty versatile too. Paleo, dairy-free, gluten-free, all-American, whatever you want. They have many menus to choose from, and you can build your menu. And you don't have to do an entire month. You can do a mini meal set too. I mean, there's like a lot of options.
Yeah, you can do like a few days, like 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever. And you don't have to have a huge freezer in order to use it either.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And because we are, they're an affiliate sponsor, we have a wonderful deal with them where our listeners get 15% off when you type in Hungry15, Hungry15. And if you go to our link, it'll be secure.onceamonthmeals.com/affiliate/Hungry Squared. That will help us out and support the podcast and also give you 15% off. So once again, Hungry15, and you'll get a discount.
And if you need that link, you can go to our show notes at hungrysquared.com.
Do it.
Let's have a food fight.
Food fight, food fight, food fight, food fight. It's winter.
This is a segment where you can email us with your relationship questions relating to food. You can email us at hungrysquared@gmail.com.
Disclaimer, we are in no way professional relationship experts, but you should totally listen to us anyway. If you need professional help, please seek it out.
Food fight, food fight, food fight. The food fight segment of the show. Here we go.
Winter, do you have this week's question?
I do.
Who's it from?
I do. I like the way she signed off, actually.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, it says, hello, Sharon and Winter. Totally love the show. Oh, thanks. Anyway, this is what she continues on. It's just, I find myself in situations in a demographic. Oh, wait, let me see. Oh, yeah. In a demographic that is much older than myself, whether it be at my place of employment or vacationing. I seem to be with people that are much older, like older than my parents' age.
Oh, okay.
This is the catch, though. I seem to attract the old men like flies to honey.
Oh.
There have been a couple of men who have been persistent and have been giving me food gifts, like a box of chocolates for Valentine's Day, random treats, and the like. I don't want them to think that I'm accepting any affections by accepting their food stuffs. How do I send the right message and sort of reject them?
Okay.
She signed off, yours, not quite a golden girl.
Nice.
Yikes.
What would Betty White say?
Oh, Blanche would.
She would, but
she'd like, Betty is so sweet though. And this not quite a golden girl sounds really sweet. She's probably just super nice. That's why all the old men love her.
Probably. I mean, they like polite, you know?
Yeah. somebody that'll give him a time of day. And she probably, it sounds like her work, maybe she's a receptionist or something at her work, and she's just nice and friendly, and
sure, yeah,
they think it's something.
providing good service, whatever you're doing. Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you done about it? What was it?
I worked at a hospital once upon a time, and I got asked out by an older gentleman who was old enough to be my grandpa.
Your grandpa. Okay. So this is much older.
His grandson would come in with him and his wife, who had Alzheimer's.
Oh, man.
And he would take his grandparents to their appointments and stuff. And he was super cute, the grandson was.
Mm-hmm.
But the grandpa would ask me to dinner, and like, he was so awkward. And
was he doing a kind of a flirtiness?
it was flirty.
Well,
Like at first,
was it like
wasn't.
teasy flirty? Because,
Yeah,
you know,
at
guys
first it was just kind of teasy. And I was like, and then I was like, oh, okay. But it's awkward to reject gifts,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
They're just trying to be nice.
Yeah, especially
think.
like they're just trying to be nice. Yes, flirty, but not. I mean, and maybe it's I don't know how bad it is, but you know, old men can be flirty. They're old men. I don't know. I think maybe that's just a thing. I don't know. But sometimes they can just be flirty. And I have found the easiest way is to just share your foodstuffs with other people.
Like, if you do get a box of Valentine chocolates,
I mean,
just bust it open right then and there, like, oh, thanks. Hey, everybody, have some chocolate.
exactly.
Okay, that's what you
Share it in front of them.
Okay.
Or let them know that you shared it with your husband or your boyfriend.
Your boyfriend.
Or, you know, 10 of your girlfriends.
Yeah.
And they all thought, golly gee, he's just the nicest man for giving you chocolates.
Yeah.
But just share it. I mean, you know, you don't think of it in a romantic way. So don't accept it in a romantic way.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty good. I've had a couple of advances myself.
Have you?
Well,
Tell me about that.
In just kind of some random spots. Like, I was visiting New York with our doctor friend. I don't even remember what we named her.
Did we?
I don't think so.
Well, hey.
Hey, Dr. Runner. She's kind of a runner.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dr. Runner.
So she and I went to New York as just a fun trip after we both graduated, and it was a fun trip. And we were having a lovely breakfast in this cafe, and it was quite crowded. And so and there were no spots to sit except for there was this one table that had a couple of spots there, and it was an older gentleman, and he's like, you can share my table, and we're like, oh, okay, because really we would have had to go out on the street and like walk and eat, and that's not great. So so we sat down and we chatted with him, and he was extremely nice, and at one point in time though he indicated pointed toward my direction and said, oh yeah, I've dated plenty of like women, but I really have the jungle fever, and pointed in my direction.
No. Oh my gosh.
So it was helpful that I was in a situation that I didn't have to necessarily
said the words jungle fever. Oh
and
my gosh.
and it was funny because it like that kind of stuff happens to me where it's just like they apparently love the little Asian flavor or something.
Oh my word.
Because I just get hit on, but it's like, I was like, they're just trying to be nice, I think. So I was polite, and it was like, okay, well, have a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.
Later meaning never. Goodbye.
Yeah. So it's a flirtation, right? So I think people just want to, like, if you're like, hi,
people want to connect. I mean, even the older generation. And I think
especially
it's great
the older
that they feel
generation.
that they can connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a high compliment.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. As long as, you know, you've got boundaries.
Yeah.
Keep your boundaries and don't treat it romantic.
Yeah. Just be friendly.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, hey, okay. And if it does get really super inappropriate and you do feel uncomfortable, then obviously you should say something. And maybe if it's in an office situation, then you should maybe have management help out with that in some way.
Sure.
And I think that's fine. But I think most of the time people are just trying to be teasy and fun and flirty, and fine.
Call the cops if you need to.
Yes. I'm not saying that you
don't not.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You know yourself and the situation better than we do. But a lot of times it just seems like people are just trying to be flirty. and just have teasy fun,
Yeah.
So, okay.
Nice.
Good luck with that.
I hope you got some good candy.
You need to get a boyfriend and bring his picture and put it on your desk.
Sometimes they won't just share it with him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today on our show. You can find us at hungrysquared.com, on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music.
Please, you guys, subscribe to our podcast. Have you subscribed? It's super easy. Just hit that subscribe button and we'll be in your little queue every Monday.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Comes out in the morning.
Woot woot. Anyway, we will join you next time for our next episode of Food Nerdery, and it's going to be awesome.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Hungry squared, yeah, hungry squared.